Hey neighbors, I'm Mac McCarty, bringing you another episode of the Rough and Tumble channel. This particular story goes back to, I'd say around early 90s maybe, or mid 90s, 1990, 1995, somewhere in that area. Had a really good hand working with me, an apprentice that worked with me, I want to say several years, but I don't remember exactly, but he was a top-notch hand to have working with you. I always appreciated him. Good worker. And we were sent out to an oil company out around the Liberty City area. I had to think for a moment. And they call that something else, Sabine. And this oil company had bought this new building that, it was an older building, but it was new to them, and they were going to move their operation in there. And so this big shot had me out there looking at the electrical service and was telling me, the stuff they wanted to get done. And so we walked inside this big shop, and there was this, I think it was a 400 amp service, had this big, huge panel, big cover, and I told my apprentice, take that cover off so we can see, what's available here, if it's going to be able to do just what he's asking for. And he and I had to go out the big door toward the front, go all the way down to the end of the building around to look at the meter service that was right on the outside of the wall where the apprentice was taking the cover off. Well, we got around there and we're looking at it, talking, and he was taking that cover off, and all of a sudden we hear this, all this noise from, power, and I knew immediately what had happened. He was taking that cover off, and somehow a wire was next to a screw, and it was enough that it got into it. And so we ran in the building, and that's exactly what had happened, and the cover was kind of partially hanging, and my apprentice was standing there, wide-eyed, and scared him because, it was fire, it was power, and it was what happens when people are incompetent and put a cover on and don't pay attention to where the power wires are, and screw cuts into the wire the rest of the way as you're backing it out. So it's important for the wires to be routed where they're not going to get cut by a screw on the cover. So point is, this apprentice was in no way guilty, no way responsible. This was whoever had been there before. And this boss man started cussing this apprentice, calling him everything. The oil field terminology comes to my mind, and I don't want to say things on this channel like that. But the point is, he was cussing this guy unmercifully, and I looked at him and I said, "You shut up! You do not talk to my people that way. You don't do that." And boy, he just cussed that much more and cussed him that much harder. And I said, "Mister," I said, "we don't need you. We don't need to put up with you. We're not going to put up with you. You shut up right now." And I couldn't believe it. I can believe it, but it was ridiculous. I told him, I said, "This is not this guy's fault. Whoever put the cover on before didn't do their job right. Left wires in harm's way, and he's unscrewing it. He didn't have a choice. Anybody that would take it off would have had that same situation." That's why skilled labor is important, to get things done right and safely. Well, anyway, this guy did not appreciate me telling him that we weren't going to put up with it, and we weren't going to have it. And he didn't want us anymore. Well, guess what? We didn't want him either. And we left, and that was the end of that work. But there comes a time to stand up for what's right, to stand up for principle, and especially when your health's involved. You know, someone that's leading should always go to bat for those working for them. Always. It don't matter who's who or how important somebody thinks they are. They can't treat people that way. Again, like I said in the previous video, it's how you make people feel. Well, I hope that's helpful to some. Let's be careful how we treat one another. That's so important. I hope you enjoyed this story. Until next time, I'm Mac McCarty saying appreciate you tuning in, and so long for the Rough and Tumbled channel.